Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Alice Bentinck. I'm one of the co-founders of Entrepreneur First. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here at my very first NOAH conference. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we do at Entrepreneur First and how we think slightly differently about how startups are built. What exists before an accelerator? Well, if you are a founder, what exists is usually maybe some sort of idea, maybe a lot of confusion, but really there's not a huge amount that exists in terms of support for individuals who are thinking about building startups. Once you are in a team, once you have an idea, once you have some early traction, there are a huge number of organizations, often accelerators, that will help you and help you get funding. But what happens before that? And in particular, what happens if you don't have a team? What happens if you haven't found your co-founder yet? There seems to be an assumption that you will have found your co-founder at high school. You will have known each other for years, if not decades. And not only will you have known each other and have this sort of blood brother bond, you will be interested in working on the same idea. You'll be ready to commit to building a startup at exactly the same time. And you'll have a complementary skill set. The voice from above. And that's really, really hard to do. And what happens if you don't have an idea? Or actually, more commonly, what happens if you have multiple ideas that you might be interested in founding, but you don't know how to evaluate them? You don't know what a good idea looks like. When we were starting Entrepreneur First, we spoke to a bunch of computer science PhDs. And we asked them what ideas were they interested in founding. And again, the idea they were most interested in working on was a dating app. It didn't necessarily use anything in their computer science PhDs, but that was the one thing that they wanted to start working on. Was it a good idea? Was it the best idea for them to start? Probably not. But there was no system, no mechanism that taught them that. Does this mean that if you don't have a co-founder, or if you don't have the right idea to work on, that you can't be a founder? Entrepreneur First's founding thesis was that the world is missing out on some, if not many, of its best founders. If you are in a small set of ecosystems in the world, probably just Silicon Valley, you can easily find co-founders. You can easily find a critical mass of people who are interested in founding a company at the same time as you. You can easily access resources and information that will help you to pick the right idea and easily access funding. However, that isn't always true in newer ecosystems. And when we started 7 years ago in London, that definitely wasn't true. So EF is here, Entrepreneur First is here to help individuals who want to found a startup but don't have a co-founder, don't have an idea to actually go through that process. So our mission is to enable the world's most ambitious people to build the most important companies by creating the most valuable community. And I'm going to give you a brief insight into how we do that. The first bit, the world's most ambitious people. And in many ways, this is the most important part of Entrepreneur First, bringing together highly talented, rare, exceptional, outlier-type individuals. One example here is Noor Shaker. Noor grew up in Syria. She went and did her PhD and postdoc at Aalborg University in Copenhagen. And she was super ambitious. She had her publications referenced thousands of times, but she didn't want to impact thousands of people, thousands of academics. She wanted to impact millions of people. She joined Entrepreneur First and met Reid, who was a postdoc at the University of Hamburg in quantum physics. And together, combining her knowledge in deep learning and his knowledge in quantum physics, they're now building GTN. And GTN is speeding up the drug discovery process by combining those two technologies. The next example, Ed Miller. So Ed didn't come from a technical background. He did a philosophy and psychology degree. But he'd been working in virtual reality for years, but he couldn't find the right co-founder. He joined Entrepreneur First and met Hoob. Hoob had been doing a robotics master's at ETH, and they started building Scape, which has taken seed investment from Fly, a Berlin-based VC, and is now doing very well. Another example, Dave Hunter, who had started his career at Deutsche Bank, realized that actually the future was around machine learning, did a master's in machine learning, joined EF, and is now building a product that allows greenhouses, huge tomato greenhouses, to optimize their production. So it's about these amazing individuals, but actually one of the most important pieces is how we help them find their co-founders. How do we connect these amazing people together? One of the useful analogies is actually online dating. 5, 10 years ago, it would have seemed weird, unusual to have met someone online. But this is now becoming the default way to meet people in the real world. So the red uptick on both graphs is couples that have met online. The same is true for founders. There are ways that you can help individuals efficiently and effectively find co-founders. One of the things I love about eHarmony has the most insane rates of helping people get into not just relationships, but into marriages. 1 in 4 marriages in the US are now through eHarmony. So Entrepreneur First does this, but for founders. We highly screen, so we have thousands of people that we speak to. We put 100 people in a cohort, and within 8 weeks, 70% of those people will be in a team. So in 8 weeks, you can go from being somebody who's interested in founding a company to somebody who's in a team with a co-founder. And not only is this a very efficient process, it's very effective. It works really, really well. Our company's median seed rounds are double that of organically built companies, so companies where individuals have found each other themselves. One of the kind of headline examples is Magic Pony technology. Zihan and Rob were both at Imperial, both doing technical degrees, both wanting to found a startup, but they couldn't find each other. They found each other at EF. They built Magic Pony technology, which uses machine learning to improve visual processing, in particular video compression. And after 18 months, that was bought by Twitter for $150 million. But it's not just about the process. It's very much about the community. We like to call our cohorts a critical mass of outliers, a critical mass of megalomaniacs, people with high personal exceptionalism, and the things that we look for are super smart people, skilled people, so typically technologists with computer science, robotics, physics, mathematical backgrounds. We look for people who are committed, ready to commit to founding a startup right now, and contrarian. They have to have a different view of the world. They have to challenge the status quo. Over the last 7 years, 1,000 potential founders have been through Entrepreneur First. 1,000 people wanting to found startups and not really have the mechanism or means to be able to do that without us. And we've seen some fantastic success stories like Magic Pony. We're now expanding what we do, and we opened in Berlin just 6 months ago and have our first cohort here. We've been in Singapore for 3 years and have just opened Hong Kong as well. And we're excited about enabling the world's best founders, potential founders, to meet each other and build startups. But it's not just about the people in the cohort. It's also about the people behind the cohort as well. So we are backed by Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, alongside Greylock partners, Mosaic, Lakestar, and Founders Fund. They back Entrepreneur First, the company. And that means that we can connect our companies to the world's best investors, whether they be in Silicon Valley or Europe. Unfortunately, that's all I've got time for. We are so delighted to be in Berlin. Thank you so much for listening. And please do drop me an email. I'm Alice@joinef if you'd like to know any more. Thank you very much.